Perfect. So good morning, everybody. My name is Cristian Acosta, agricultural educator from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and I'm happy to present a new class today. And it's talking about how to manage stress with gardening. So that sounds like, well, is it possible or not? Or what? We're going to be talking about that today. Before starting, I want to mention that if you have any questions, feel free to unmute your microphone and ask, or in the chat, you can send your questions. And just a disclaimer, here we're talking about some stress management with gardening. So we are still talking from the science side, and it's not an alternative or prescribing anything or an alternative to professional like therapy or going with a therapist, a psychologist, or replacing some of these professional mental health services. So in that case, this is just a general advice and that you can be using is research based. So if any of this doesn't really work and you have some more like advanced condition or something that is some techniques that you're going to be learning today, they are not really working or just something more than that. So I invite you to consult with your mental health doctor. So that's it. Now we can start. So uh, this is something, like I mentioned, research based, that many research projects together with professionals in gardening, agricultural areas, and professionals in mental health, they have been working together for this kind of studies to find ways to manage stress, anxiety, and different feelings, negative feelings at some point that we can be overwhelmed or just the day by day, right? Um, so gardening is one of those methods, one of those techniques that is powerful and helps to reduce stress. And so today we're going to be talking about that and how we can use gardening to do it, and how using smells and aromatherapy, just playing with textures and feeling our plants and using our senses and using the colors and the also for psychological purposes, the colors from the plants and some gardening techniques that you can use to manage um, stress, and so to help yourself to relieve some stress. So number one is understanding why, like the causes, the root of our stress. So it's you're not the only one. All of us, we have stress at some point. It can be for study, for some academic pressures, for money, some financial concerns, for people, just with couple, friends, family, even some people outside when you're driving, when you're buying groceries, everywhere. It's inevitable to have these social relationships, and that causes stress sometimes. Or for health, sometimes disease or some condition that you can be feeling stressed. Um, so this is part of where we start. So it's trying to identify why we are having that stress. So why does gardening help? So gardening, it connects you with to nature. So when you are outside or even indoors, just pruning your plants and changing the potting mix and pruning and putting the different plants in different parts of the house and decorating, buying a new pot and decorating the pot, or just doing something with your plants. In that way, you feel a connection. You feel that what you are doing has an impact in that little plant, even if it's a small succulent plant, something that small, you feel connected. So it's not just something crazy when some people say if you're stressed or if you feel overwhelmed somehow, and if you are close to a tree, that we are lucky to be in an area, some rural or semi-rural areas where we can find easily a tree, or we have a tree just out there in front of our house, and we can go and hug the tree. So that has some psychological effect, and it's really that connection to nature. Also, the physical activity when we are gardening, because sometimes having a garden is demanding, right? Especially if it's a big garden or a medium-sized garden, is demanding. So, going to bring the potting mix and pruning and hanging the tomatoes, the ropes for the ropes and uh, to hang the tomatoes and be pruning and be watering and fertilizing and controlling the pests and doing all of this sometimes is exhausting, but it's nice because same time we are releasing some endorphins, so these natural hormones make us feel relaxed and calm, so we can be tired. And probably if you have been gardening like that, some days that you are doing a lot out in the garden and you feel tired, like physically tired, but your mind is happy and feeling relaxed. Same time feeling calmed and relaxed. So somehow you sometimes just forget about everything else. You don't need even the phone or anything, the laptop, nothing. It's just you and your garden, your plants, and that's it. So that helps. That physical activity helps to release natural hormones that helps you to feel less stressed and feel relaxed. Also, the psychological effect of colors. So the colors, the textures, the smells, our senses, using our senses is something that also helps to reconnect, because sometimes when we are stuck in our minds, it's easy to forget about senses. And with plants, that's something nice that we can come back to our senses and play with the colors, play with the textures, with the smells, and helping ourselves with this. Also, the focused, we can be focused in some activity, and just like I mentioned before, forget about everything else. And it helps also to create that feeling that, yeah, I did it, that accomplishment. When you have been probably an hour, it can be just 30 minutes, an hour, or sometimes hours working in the garden. And then you see the results, and that gives you that satisfaction. It's like, yeah, I did it, and it's beautiful, and the plants are growing. And it's like, yes, everything. Why? Because of my work, because I did it. So that also helps you to keep that balance. Well, we know that plants they have the positive effect in our lives, and yeah, it's nice. So now, how to do it? Where to start, or why? Because sometimes it's not that easy when you're stressed or for somehow feeling overwhelmed for some any reason, like how to start or where, how, especially now that the outside is not that easy to be gardening, right? So sometimes it can be a little depressing when you're a gardener and the weather doesn't help. It's just too cold. So, but the good news is we can do it also indoors. So how to start? Like I mentioned before, we need to identify the root of the problem. What is your stress trigger or triggers? It can be just one or multiple. So if it's about time, like I mentioned, about social interactions, some academic pressure or performance or work. Sometimes not only academics, also work, the deadlines and just having a stressful environment. So the boss just up there trying to, uh, I don't know, put some more pressure or coworkers or at home. It can be any person around you or environmental factors. So this is a little more challenging because for most the previous ones, you can manage those ones a little easier than the environmental factors. So when there is just a noisy environment, some noisy neighbor, or you cannot easily sleep, nutrition, how cold it is sometimes, and just something outside, something that is not really in your hands. But something that is really in your hands is how to react to those triggers. And this is where we are going to be talking about just one method that is with the plants, using gardening. So here there is the first method that I want to share with you, and is the 10-minute plant therapy. So this is something like an SOS. something when one of those triggers is just immediate, even just being outside, not only at home, just outside, at work, or well, it's a little difficult when driving, but if you stop the car and you do it, definitely you can start doing this 10-minute therapy. So ideally, at home or your office. For example, here I have my little office and I have just one succulent plant. Probably you can see it in the camera. Yeah. Uh, just something like that. It's small. It's not the big garden. It's just a small plant. It's a succulent plant. So this is for now. This is my tool. So it's just my plant. Um, Ideally, a plant with some smell. So if you have even a small, in a pot, a small plant of lavender, because lavender can grow a lot, right? But just keeping the plant small or smaller plants, especially for the office, so like mint, basil, and you keep trimming, pruning the plants so they stay small. Something that is nice to smell too. So lavender, mint, basil, lemon balm, um, thyme. Some people don't like the smell of thyme, or even rosemary. So that also help. Well, the rosemary, it has double effect because it also helps you just smelling the plant. It also helps you for memory, just to improve memory. So we have our flowers or our succulent or our basil, ideally something with smell. For example, this succulent doesn't smell anything, but it's beautiful and we can use not only the smell, but the texture and the colors. So we start focusing when something is stressing, just very stressful, and you're feeling overwhelmed, even just working, doing something, even with a deadline, feeling that you don't have enough time. But trust me, if you just take 10 minutes, it's easier to keep doing it instead of just trying to keep doing it and just your energy goes down, 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 and the performance is not going to be the same. So even just 10 minutes that you stand up, go to the next room, or just if you cannot move from your cubicle or your office, so just forgetting about the laptop, forgetting about the phone, if possible, for just 10 minutes, and taking your plant or your flowers. And if you have any plant at the moment, so ideally with a plant, but in case that you don't have, just the plant is in your mind. And if you have some, like this, I don't know if you can see, so these are some essential oils. So in this case, is lavender. So that is also something nice that can help you to connect with nature. So just one drop in your fingers or wrist and smelling that one. So you take and focus, you take your plant or your tool and focus on breathing. So just deep breath, 4 seconds, and then releasing for 6 seconds and repeating that pattern for about 1 minute, just enough to start focusing only in your plant or your tool, your flowers, or just the smell of the essential oil, and start connecting again with your senses. So again, when we are stressed, we tend to forget about basically everything else. So just feel your senses. So for example, just your sight, and be grateful that you actually can see the plant, that you can see your monitor, you can see, right? Many people, they wish they could have good eyes and they cannot really see. So you are lucky and blessed to have just your sight and see all the beautiful colors. Just look through the window if there is a window outside, and just the colors of the leaves, even if the leaves right now are turning brown and falling, but you can see those colors and focusing on senses. Then you can touch, for example, my plant here. It's a little prickly in the top, but it's not like a cacti. And so I can touch it a little. I can feel tiny like needles, but they are not really hurting my hand, so it's nice. And if I touch just the leaf, gentle, because of course my succulent can easily break. So just gentle. I can feel how soft, how smooth it is. And it's nice just to touch that, just to see the colors, that beautiful, like green, pale color. And just focusing on my plant, focusing on what you have in front. And uh, that's the only thing that you're focusing in. Even if you close your eyes and just touching the plant a little bit and focusing on that, just for a couple seconds, couple minutes, and you start repeating any affirmation that you want to do. So if it's about stress and deadlines at work, about you feel that you don't have enough time and it's stressful in that moment. So just like this plant, I'm stronger and I can do it. And repeating anything that makes you feel nice for yourself, so you can be your own therapist in this moment. Um, any intention that you have. So, for example, when this is more about stress, but something that I share personally, not from the class, is if I have anxiety, somehow I have anxiety. So, first I identify the root, and then it's like, okay, I am anxious, but I'm connecting with just my nature. I'm connecting with nature, I'm connecting with myself, and everything is gonna be okay. So, it's gonna be okay. It sounds sometimes like silly, like I cannot do that, or I feel weird. Maybe the first times doing it, feeling weird repeating that, it feels like I don't know, some I don't know, so any movement or cult or something like that, and feeling a little bit different, like I'm not doing that. But if you try, even it's not about following any groups or anything, it's just for yourself. And because we are part of nature and the nature is out there and we are surrounded by nature. So actually connecting with just the plants, the air, the water, everything, the natural resources out there. And using our senses makes us feel that we are part of that. Eh, So we start repeating ourselves. So these are just some examples. I'm strong, like the roots of this plant. I'm grateful for this moment and for the beauty of nature because it's beautiful, right? When you really pay attention, start paying attention to the patterns, that how the form, the different patterns that the plants have, the how the flowers they come so beautiful, and it's wonderful just to focus only in that, only uh, focusing on that. And repeating and reflecting. Just 10 minutes, you can put a timer with your phone, and you feel that that goes way too fast. So sometimes we can do it because sometimes we can be on the phone um, for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just social media or even watching TV, watching the news, something that usually is not giving us something positive and beautiful to think about. Usually is bad news or things that are going on in the world or things like that, that even it can be even way more overwhelming and stressful. Uh, Sometimes just focusing in what you have in the moment. And it's easy with a plant using a 10-minute therapy. That's it, just with 10 minutes. If you can do it longer, well, that's good. But just with 10 minutes, you will notice the difference. Also, playing with the colors. So when we have our garden and you're planting your garden outside, especially when you have a space outside, if not, we can try also indoors with the colors. So based on what you need, if you need something to make you feel more like calm, relaxed, or something vibrant that makes you like increase your energy, you're gonna use colors. So, for example, just green plants in general, just green, it represents tranquility, some calming effect, just renewal, because we can see that everything when it comes to life, it's green. So, during the spring, we can see everything coming back to life and it's green and it's beautiful. So, it's that renewal, something new. So that helps for psychologically to feel that with blue. So we have some, especially flowers, right? Because even we can see some orchids in the stores that they are like this, but blue, but they are artificially painted, so it's just playing with the water, so they absorb the color and then they are blue. No, I mean natural blue uh, encourages the to feel calm and just peaceful. So usually blue is like the sky. You can feel just focusing on the sky and forgetting about everything else. Sometimes, if you have tried that, you feel that it's calming, it's relaxing. Or when you go to the sea, the ocean, and it's relaxing. Same with plants, same with the flowers. Yellow, so it's more vibrant, so it boosts your mood and energy. You can see here that we don't have anything red, even in this list. We don't have anything red. So red, yeah, it's nice and it boosts also energy, but sometimes it has some negative effect if the root or the trigger of your stress is, I don't know, you're probably fighting with someone or someone is fighting you, or you feel like your blood is boiling a little bit because, especially with fights or feeling angry for something, for someone, or sorry about the noise, for someone or something. So in that case, red colors that that increases that feeling, that energy, so that anger. So it's passion, and it's nice when we feel when we are okay and we feel nice, and then we see red flowers, red roses, for example, for a gift, and it's beautiful. So yeah, that increases the passion. It's like that passion. But when you feel stressed and you feel especially angry about something or someone, is not the best color. Purple, so it inspires creativity and relaxation. So in that case, if sometimes, especially office or working, when you need creativity, having purple things around, especially if it's a purple plant, so it's double effect because it's natural and same time it helps for that creativity and feels nice. Feeling just in general a good mood, that well-being. So some plants, even when you can mix the plant that have the colors, that plant has the colors and also the smell, that's even better, right? So plants like lavender, basil, some sunflowers in that case, not the smell, but the colors, right? Mint, basil, thyme, rosemary. So we have the colors and plus the smell, and that mixes. It's a mix of the effects, not only from the smell, but also from the colors, and that's nice. Talking about the smells, so we have different plants like the lavender, mint, jasmine. Even here we have chamomile, rosemary, lemon balm. We have lemongrass. Uh, Many smells, right? So in that case, it's up to you what you really like the smell. Some people, for example, they don't like rosemary. So it's like, okay, if you don't like it, so why to try that? Even when it's good for memory, and but if you don't like it, it's better just to avoid that plant. Um, and for any plant that you really like the smell. So for example, just one plant that is not here and it smells really strong, and it's not even just the plant, it's just the bulb, and it's like garlic. So garlic is like, oh, some people like it's delicious, but they don't really like the smell. But for some people, that garlic, someone was telling me, garlic was reminding her just being at home with family, cooking together and cooking for the family, and that was making her feel nice and relaxed because being in the kitchen and smelling that and cooking, it was just like that natural therapy and making her feel good. So it's for many people, maybe it's like, oh, that doesn't smell that good, but for someone can be bringing back memories, and can be that smell that makes you feel relaxed. So if you identify that particular smell, go for it. That is helping. So we with the smells we can bring back memories, or we can use the effects just from the smell for different purposes. So lavender, calming, when you need to sleep. So like I mentioned, just I have this one here, just natural essential oils, just with a diffuser, using a diffuser, and before going to bed, so everything smells nice and it helps to relax, especially after a stressful day. The mint is also refreshing, so it's nice sometimes just to boil it and have some tea with the mint, so that smell is like, oh, it smells so good. Or just taking one leaf and smelling, breathing, and closing your eyes for a couple of seconds. That's even a shorter therapy, but that moment when you forget about everything else and it's just the smell connecting with your senses. The jasmine also reduces anxiety and improve mood. Chamomile, just a nice fresh chamomile tea. It's delicious and it smells so good. It also helps to calm the nerves, especially after something traumatic. Something like immediate fight with someone, or you some small accident, or outside while driving, or somehow that it's a trigger immediately. You need something immediately to help calming down. Um, Chamomile tea that helps for that one. Same with basil and rosemary. So, like I mentioned before, just smelling the rosemary helps with memory. So, if you're studying or learning something new, if you have rosemary, just smell and keep reading and keep studying. And just smelling the rosemary helps you to relax a little bit and to improve memory. Um, there are articles about this if you want to read more about that. You can read multiple journals and scientific research about the effects for rosemary and, well, for anything that we have been talking today. But about memory is nice to learn about that. And lemon balm or even lemongrass, it's kind of similar smell. Helps also to reduce anxiety and helps to sleep. Now, we play with textures. So not only about the colors and the smells, also the textures. And this is one of the lessons that I was working with um, for a book that is coming from Cornell, Small Farms. This was a treatment for veterans. So just having a space in the greenhouse, and how just using the textures, just tactile, using our senses, just textures, also help to promote like a well-being sensation, and being again having our own therapy and being nice and focused only in the moment and focused only in that sensation. So, for example, just the soil. If you touch the soil, sometimes we avoid the soil because it's dirty, but it's nice. Like the little kids when they are playing outside and just completely covered with mud and dirt. So that has actually an effect, and it brings like that happiness and like well-being sensation. So just playing with your pots, especially when you're repotting the plants, and instead of using gloves, just using your hands and repotting the plants and touching the soil, or just outside when you're mulching or weeding, and just touching the soil, especially if it's a little moist, just getting your hands dirty and playing with the soil. So that helps you to connect with earth. Also, just scientifically, just the soil helps to take some of the static energy that you have, and it's like grounding. So, for example, when I was working with indigenous communities, they don't have an hospital or some place for an emergency to take someone quickly. And when someone was hit by a lightning, in that case, they were taking the person and opening a hole, digging a hole in the outside, just normally in the garden or outside, digging a hole and just like putting the person vertical, and just the head outside and covering the rest with soil. So this is just ancestral knowledge. So there is not a lot of research about that, but there is research about how the soil helps to just um, to manage the electric. electromagnetism and the electrical fields. I'm not an expert in physics. So yeah, just the energy and that electricity and helps to regulate that. So I don't, like I mentioned, I'm not the expert what is going on and why and what is happening in that moment, why the soil is helping to conduct the electricity and help the person that has been hit by the lightning, but it helps. So same time, that's why even just walking barefoot um, in the garden outside, it also helps you somehow to like release that energy, that tension, and especially, yeah, like the static, the energy that you have in that moment, and helps you in that case just grounding with the soil, with nature. Leaves, like I mentioned, for the 10-minute therapy, just touching the leaves. Even the best way to do that, if it's safe, it's just closing your eyes and touching the leaves or the soil, because in that moment you focus more in what you're feeling more than what you're seeing. So something like, even like I mentioned, this is succulent. Some or most, not most, but many succulents, they can be they can prickle. So that prickly sensation, especially like a cacti, uh, but especially cacti, but there are some smooth. For example, lamb's ear, some succulents. This is not terrible, that one, this one, so it's still smooth. um, Moss, for example, just some moss that can come sometimes with the decoration, with the plants, the orchids, etc. That is also nice to just be feeling, and um, in that case, just with our senses, our touch, we can just somehow also forget about everything else and focusing only in that moment and touching um, different plants. Even it's nicer if you have more plants. Just not only these ones, like pothos just at home, that you can have pothos, different flowers. Even better if they smell, because when you touch, for example, mint, immediately you feel the smell, or basil. So just gardening, this is not even a therapy, like 10-minute therapy, just gardening, digging, planting, pruning, fertilizing, watering the plants, especially when you do it just like that, barefoot and your hands without gloves or anything, because after the gardening, you can be cleaning your hands, doing some quick manicure, but the therapy is worthy and it's nice. And you don't need a lot of time for this. Now, if it's not possible outside, because right now it's cold and not a lot of plants out there, so you can try indoors. And so it's something nice. It's easy. You can just have any plant wherever you want to move the plant, right? Because we are using just pots, small ones, big ones. You can hang some of them. Even if you have any idea how to do it, YouTube or Pinterest gives you a lot, or these websites give you a lot of ideas how to be creating your indoor garden so beautiful. And sometimes you see some like it's even way beautiful, and I don't know how to describe, it's just magnificent and beautiful indoor gardens just in the living room, hanging the plants and playing with the different um, if the plant is tall or short, and playing with different textures and colors and putting everything in a way that is like, if you go into that room, you're gonna feel immediately that like that peace. If it's peaceful, just seeing on the phone a picture like that or a video like that, imagine having that at home. Um, so you can try with pothos. Pothos is one of the plants that you can neglect that plant for weeks and it's still growing and keep beautiful, and it's very grateful. So you can forget sometimes to water 1, 2 weeks and the plant doesn't die, it's still there. So of course we need to take care of our plants, but that's an easy one to start, because sometimes if we start with something challenging like orchids. So it's beautiful and also promotes our well-being, and it's so beautiful to see the flowers, but they are challenging to grow. So in that case, we are looking for something to make us feel relaxed and nice and well-being and managing stress. But if we have some challenging plant, it's also depressing, and it's the opposite effect, depressing or just like anxious or just feeling down because we see the plant dying so easy. And it's just because we don't know yet how to grow these plants. So I put the example of orchids because it's one of the challenging plants to grow around here. Sometimes it can be really challenging. Um, it depends the species of orchids, but in general they are challenging, so they easily die. Um, so that's why my advice is go for start small and go for easy to grow, the plants that they are easy to grow. So these are the examples. So pothos, spider plants. Well, here this is more tropical, like the peace lilies. A little, they need some conditions, some light and temperature to keep alive and be like that beautiful. Um, and the jade plant, easy. That those are easy to grow, like these ones. And probably you can go around in local nurseries and find easy to grow, easy plants, easy like beginner friendly. That's the word, beginner friendly plants. And just like I mentioned before, just the regular activities, repotting, watering, decorating the pots, that helps you to feel focused on that activity and helps to release and to relieve stress. Now, like I mentioned before, the outdoor garden, that's even, well, you have more space to grow everything that you want. So you can play with different textures and different colors and even have your space, a small space, even if it's a small garden, having a space where you can just sit there and be meditating, praying, or anything that makes you feel better, yeah, surrounded by this beautiful environment, beautiful plants that you have been growing there. And it's nice when you have that exposure to sunlight. So you're part of that environment. And ideally, if you can be completely quiet, if not, just using anything, earplugs or something, just to be completely quiet. And playing with everything. In that case, we're playing with the colors, with sunlight is so nice because you're feeling that warm sunlight. The colors, the smells, textures, putting your hands in the on the soil and just feeling, using your sensations. That is natural therapy that you have out there. There are some mindfulness techniques in gardening. Uh, like I mentioned before, focusing in that moment, trying to forget about everything else, like the cooking, the kids, and I have to do this, the deadline my boss doing. No, usually I have my gardening space uh, Saturday or Sunday. So just one day that you know that you have your day off, you're not working that day, so it can be the weekend if it works for you. If it's during the week, just one day that you can be focused on that. And it doesn't need to be the whole day. It's just 1 or 2 hours gardening. That's it. One of the plants that I forgot, and it's like my own therapy too, is tomatoes. So some people they love tomatoes. I personally love the smell of the tomatoes. So when I'm pruning and moving the plants of tomatoes and having that smell of tomato leaves, and that's like not like almost the same effect that like the lavender smell and some natural essential oils that I really like. Some people they don't like it. I love it. So if that helps, go for the plants that make you feel that nice. Focus in that present, in the moment, in that moment that you're gardening, paying attention to the smells, the colors, and everything around, the air, the water, everything. Breathing, it's important too. That's probably the step number one. Start calming down, especially if it has been stressful that day, and just breathing. trying to focus now in the plants and forgetting about everything else. And avoid perfection, because sometimes gardening can be stressful when you don't see the perfect tomato, the perfect plant, or the perfect flowers. And some gardeners, instead of being relaxed, they are just stressed, like, oh, this is not growing like I want to grow. Maybe because it's cold, or because of a pest, or just temperature, changing temperatures, etc. So outside in nature, we don't need perfection. So just let go that um, perfection feeling, and that you need to do everything perfect. No, just enjoy whatever you're doing with the garden. Try to just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. And how to start? Just out gardening, start small. That's my best advice. You don't need to um look to the picture of this Pinterest or Facebook, or any perfect picture that you can see, or videos. Investing probably more than 1,000 or more to have the perfect environment for that. If you can do it, well, go for that. But you can start small. Just something so simple like having something like this. Um, on your desk or close to the garden, because of course, if for example these succulents, I need to keep it in the window because they need sunlight. So not a lot of water, but sunlight. So, or we can have some like, well, back here I have some dracaenas, or the name is lucky bamboo, that's the common name. They don't need a lot of sunlight, so we can have that one just on the desk, and having that something green, or flowers, something alive growing there, just on your desk, and using for that 10-minute therapy, or any method that you want to use. And just allow yourself to have some you time with any technique that you want. So for example, I was every week, if it wasn't Saturday, it was Sunday. But Saturday or Sunday, just being out in the garden at least 2 hours. So it doesn't matter how busy I was, and how busy in the plants and all this. It's like, no, I need my time. So my time, it was 2 hours, just 2 hours to be outside pruning and moving the plants and cleaning the garden, weeding and fertilizing and doing all of this. And that was my routine. Even leaving the phone indoors. So I forgot about the phone, the laptop, the everything else. And I was just connecting with my garden. And that's it. Just 2 hours, 2 hours a week. If you can do it just daily, going and touching your plants and moving the plants, probably if they are close to the window, so we need to rotate them sometimes because they start growing towards the light. Just taking care of your plants, watering, turning on the humidifier, etc. Just for a couple minutes during the day, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that it's up to you. Or if you just want once a week. So allow yourself to have your time to do this. And if you want to involve more family members, so with your kids, with your couple, or your friend, or someone who can be also sharing that passion and using this um, like natural therapy. I like to think like a natural therapy. They are welcome to do it, of course, if they are going to be in the same page, right? Not starting talking about different topics, and not allowing you to connect and to really have that own therapy, and even don't touch this, or you're breaking my plant, or doing so. If it's going to be stressful, in that case, just do it yourself. But if it's a family activity, so all of you can be working out in the garden, or inside, just taking care of the plants. And like I mentioned before, you can explore different ways to be gardening. So vertical gardening, when you don't have a lot of space, um, that's a nice one. Hanging the plants when you have enough space, just on the shelves, or on the counter, etc., or close to the windows. And just like I mentioned before, your phone, YouTube, Pinterest, and many of these apps, you can be using that, just micro learning. That's a different technique, that instead of following just content that It's not really teaching you anything. You can be following gardening pages and something that is teaching you uh, new ways to be gardening, new ways to accommodate your plants indoors, and new ways to be doing this natural therapy. So this is just in general some methods, some techniques that you can be using gardening for stress relief. Uh, and uh, I hope this can be helping for anything. This is mainly for stress relief, but also some anxiety or different ones. Even if you're under a therapy or like medical advice, you can incorporate this and try how that makes you feel. And if you have any questions, let me know in the chat or feel free to unmute your microphone if you have any questions about this. And if not, if we don't have any questions right now, because sometimes we forget. In case that you forget any questions, like I always mentioned, you can send your email to, this is my email, so Cornell Cooperative Extension, Allegany County. If you're in a different county, you can look for your Cooperative Extension office and send your emails, your questions. Not only for this, also if you have any problems with, we were talking a lot of indoor plants, so sometimes it's not that easy to control indoor pests, for example, or something that is going on with your plants and you don't know what is that. You can take the pictures or send your emails to this email. And if I don't know the answer, so we have the network and we have the experts um, to know, to ask and to let you know the answer, and anything that we can help you. Um, we are here. We are always happy to help. Okay, thank you, Mary. And that's it for today. So I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead, and enjoy your gardening. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you in the next class. Next week is composting for the winter. So if you want to join that one, uh, I'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye bye.